right, welcome to Hops and Monsters, your weekly discussion of all things nerd with, I'm Charlie.
I'm Ben.
I'm Ant.
We are having some beers and we're going to talk about some movies. Guys, I just, before we even get started, I gotta say I'm still kind of on the high from last week, talking with Lance and the boys from Baron Altar.
That was a lot of fun.
If you haven't already, that's the episode to go start with, Metal Monsters. Find it on SoundCloud. I just think everyone should
funny
go
shit.
Watch, listen to that, and watch it. Look at it while it's playing in front of you on the computer screen. I just wanted to say that off top of the show. Also, the music you heard is by The Left Hand of Creation. We don't say their name enough on here, so The Left Hand of Creation.
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 It's just Thomas and Patrick to me.
Yes, Thomas and Patrick. So today we're going to talk about some of our favorite 80s movies and 90s movies to come from a certain Jim Cameron. You think he goes by Jim?
No,
to his
James,
friends?
for sure.
Jimmy
You
Cams.
don't say Jim Brown. You go James Brown, motherfucker.
Well, unless you're talking about Jim Brown, the football player, right? James Cameron, Sir James. He's a knight, right? No, he's Canadian. He's not a knight.
Sir Cameron.
Sir James.
He could have been. Canada was a British province for a while.
Was it? Yeah, I say blame Canada. James Cameron. Some of my favorite movies of the 80s and early 90s, I think we can say that. And some of the stuff we're going to get into is Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, all that good stuff. So, but first, I see this beer in front of me and I need to open it.
Oh, yeah. Let's do this.
Because we're going to be tasting some beers tonight while we do this. Ben, what do we got?
This is Clown Shoes. It's a great brewery. And this one is called Aurora Orangialis. It's an
Nice.
India Pale Ale with blood orange flavoring, which
Ooh.
I really like in beer these days.
Yeah, we tried some blood orange one a couple months ago, I remember. Not this one, but it's a very interesting flavor combination. We're going to pour it right here on mic.
Even has the gurgle and everything.
Refreshing. And there's a glass for Ant if he wants some.
Of course.
I would love some.
So where do we start? James Cameron.
Sir James Cameron.
Sir James
I like
Cameron.
The name of that.
He is filmmaking royalty, if you're a sci-fi nerd like we are. I am. Did you know, Ben, that one of his early... So I was looking him up. I was like, how did this guy get started? Because The Terminator is quite a first film to have under your belt. That was his first movie as a director and I assume writer and everything else. Quite a thing to go off out of the gate with. Did you know he worked on Escape from New York before then?
Really?
Yeah.
What was his
according
role?
according to trusted news site Wikipedia, he did some special effects on Escape from New York, and then he did some design and special effects on things like Galaxy of Terror and Android. Themes I think we're going to be talking about later this episode. So he was, he was one of these guys where he was just a blue collar guy driving a truck, I think even. Then he went and saw Star Wars, changed his life. He got into filmmaking, and it was a fever dream that led to the Terminator. I don't know if you know that. That's another tidbit of info Wikipedia wants to tell you. He got food poisoning while working on Piranha 2, the spawning. And while he had food poisoning, he had a nightmare about a robot coming to kill him, and that was Terminator.
So he's John Connor.
Yes,
James
I would say
Cameron,
so. James Cameron, John Connor. Whoa.
So he wrote himself
Man, he
into
didn't
his
even
own
try.
screenplay, Charlie Kaufman style.
He did, yeah. I think he is the titular John Connor.
Now, food poisoning on the set of Piranha. Now, what would happen
Ironic.
if piranhas got food poisoning? Would they be able to eat you after that?
I don't know.
It would get
That's
messy,
the first
right?
thing that came into my mind.
I think they just had bad catering, and they probably had one day where it's like, hey, we got grilled
Here's
piranha.
what I
meat.
want to Piranha. This probably direct-to-video sequel, right? They were shooting exteriors in Jamaica and interiors in Rome. So, what kind of budget you got when you're going from Jamaica to Rome? So it was in Rome that he got food poisoning.
Oh, huh.
And what did he have? Some bad clams, some bad oysters. I wonder.
Not Italy, but Rome.
In Rome.
When in Rome,
When
get
in Rome.
very sick.
Yeah, don't eat that. So there you go. There's more of gravy than the grave in him. But
Hi-oh.
Hey, well, and I think that just goes to show we all do our best work when we have 103-degree fever and we're vomiting and everything else. That's the time to really get creative. Write down what you see.
Just like a psychedelic
It
trip
could be a
of pain.
blockbuster. Yeah, exactly. Lick a mushroom and see what happens. I don't know.
An intense dehydration and chugging Gatorade and watching The Price is Right in the morning because
That'll do
called
it.
sick into work and
Yeah, and then sleep on that and then just let it all mix together.
oh yeah,
Then
nothing
you
like
got it.
Drew carrying an intense
All right.
hallucination.
I'm going to try that later.
Yeah, not bad idea. Yeah,
I got some ideas. I
It's
wanna
one
write
way to
down,
spend the
and
weekend.
if that's a way to brainstorm,
Yeah, we got a brainstorm
Vomit storm
session
is a
here.
word.
Eat this expired dairy.
Well, it was like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer eats he gets that really long Subway sandwich.
Oh
and
man,
then
I
he
love
steadily
that.
goes through it, and then they go to Duff Gardens.
Yeah,
And he starts
he's
tripping
too
out.
sick. Yeah, Duff Gardens. Oh, that is one of my favorite bits where he's like, he just brings home his sandwich and he's eating it. It's like on the floor, and she's like, "Are you still eating that sandwich? 2 more feet and I can fit it in the fridge."
Oh, wait,
that's
what's
something
that?
I would think of to try to do. Actually,
Yeah, it's so
And
funny.
That was
makes
the one
sense.
where like Lisa drinks the water from the
Yeah, Lisa's the one that
water
trips out on the It's a Small World, but they do the Duff Gardens version. Yeah, Lisa, drink the water. All right, so the Terminator. People always call this an android or a robot movie, right? Killer robot. But this is a time travel movie to me. I got to think, if you're living in a future where you've built robots that move around and you've also developed time travel, like, isn't that the bigger one? Isn't time travel like kind of the bigger deal in this movie? I feel like everyone kind of glosses over that.
Yeah.
Like, they've developed time travel in 30 years and then they use it to send killer robots back in time. That's some fucked up shit if you're talking logistics here. I don't know. I think everyone just kind of is like, yeah, they time travel. Yeah, back in time. Back to the 80s. But really the robot, how cool is that? It's like, but he traveled through time. They sent it through time. I don't know. Living flesh on top of a robotic skeleton, pretty cool, but
nothing dead will go. They say.
yeah, but through time. And then they have to travel through time naked. Yeah. I always like that.
Well, the
little
fake
tidbit.
ones. I mean, the first ones had fake skin. You know.
Yeah, they had the fake. Well, they had the skin in the blood kind
You
of
could
over.
spot them easily.
You could. Kind of like Westworld or something, right? Where
Well,
they
it
just
was
got
real.
better and
It was
better.
real skin, real living tissue over a metal skeleton.
You
Right.
know what doesn't make sense to me is when he goes into that gun store and is able to buy fully automatic weapons, and yet they don't stock a phased plasma rifle and a 40-watt range.
Yeah, I know. They hadn't gotten there.
The dude behind the counter was just like, "Hey, just what you see here, pal."
Yeah, definitely one of those movies that I think nobody saw it coming when it came out. I mean, I was just a kid, so I never saw it until later on. But
It was supposed to come out even earlier. It was delayed by 9 months because Arnold Schwarzenegger was stuck on the set of Conan.
oh yeah,
Yeah, he was actually going to do Terminator first.
yeah. We've never really brought up Schwarzenegger. He's kind of.
Well, this is definitely the episode for that.
This, I guess we'll have to do it now. Yeah. So originally, the idea was the Terminator robot was going to be kind of this everyman, like it could blend in, hide in the shadows. It's unassuming. It would look like just a regular person. And then they cast the Austrian bodybuilder, world champion Arnold Schwarzenegger to play the robot. So I think they kind of changed the tactic there.
It makes sense, though, because if you imagine like a metal sort of exoskeleton sort of thing,
Right.
it's going to be big.
It's gonna be bulky.
So you got to cover it with a big body of flesh.
Plus,
That
it's
makes
just
sense.
intimidating as fuck.
And they did make, a more everyman style. The T-1000.
right.
That
well,
looked like a normal dude.
in Terminator 2, yeah, they kind of go that direction and have Robert Patrick play kind of the normal looking, believable, trustable kind of cop robot. Yeah. But Schwarzenegger, yeah. So did this come out? I thought Conan came out before
It did.
Terminator. It did. Okay.
Because for whatever reason, but
Yeah, he was just hitting that stride. But this movie is really what kind of made him the
I guess
The star.
he was double booked. I mean, he was
Yeah.
still stuck on the set of Conan, but he was supposed to have been filming the Terminator 9 months earlier.
interesting. All right.
That's
cool.
why they Terminator was supposed to come out sooner than it did.
And so he's, I
think it's better for it because they were able to go back and really craft all the effects shots and really put time into it.
They did.
With that 9 months.
Yeah, a lot of great miniatures, a lot of great effects in that first one before really any kind of computer effects. So it's all kind of
and
practical.
Like when we talk about aliens in a bit, there's so many miniatures in there. I watched a documentary on that last night. It was like, wow, I had no idea. All that scene where Ripley's battling the Queen Alien and she's in this big cargo loader, exoskeleton thing. That was all puppets.
It's crazy, what they were able to do with that. And I think Stan Winston's a big part of that, and the Winston creature effects and the robot effects in Terminator.
Yeah, I think he did the face hugger.
I think, in the
which and those things were puppets as well, obviously, but they look so damn real, man. They look like creepy, fleshy spiders.
All right, well, we're already on to aliens, so let's keep going. Fuck Terminator's fine. It's an action movie. I'll be back. Everyone says I'll be back. We get it.
We'll get way back when we talk about Terminator 2.
But that movie is, Terminator is basically the stepping stone that gets Cameron to direct Aliens. He gets the offer to direct Aliens, which... So at that point, it had been 7 years since the first one came out. I mean, late 70s, right? And now we're like in 86. So I don't know if they were even really going to ever do a sequel. Is it kind of one of those?
Yeah, James Cameron said that he wanted to do Aliens while he was doing Terminator. He was actually writing the script for Aliens while he was filming Terminator.
Okay.
And the studio kept sidelining him. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to invest in it. Finally, there was a big turnover at the studio, and so a lot of the studio heads left or got repositioned or whatever. And so then someone after the success of Terminator, they finally just said, "Okay, you can have it. Just do what you're going to do."
Yeah, I mean, they finally saw like, oh, this little because Terminator wasn't like a big budget. There was not a lot of money there, and it became this huge international hit.
Yeah, it was done in the John Carpenter manner,
Definitely.
Really cheap budget, but really awesome looking effects and
great
story.
Good story.
Oh, the music is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Aliens, I mean, is it the best sequel of all time? Is it?
It's on the short list for sure of sequels that were better than the original. And that's tough to top.
And maybe because it's so hard to compare like better than the original. Well, it's a very different movie. But it does what the sequel's supposed to do, which is to expand on that first movie. And so many sequels are just a retread or just basically a retelling.
Yeah, that's one thing you could say about the Alien franchise is that every movie is very different from the one before it.
Yeah, big time. But they get Sigourney Weaver to come back as Ripley. She returns. And it's Space Marines. I mean, this time it's war, I think was the catchphrase, right? And it's a big movie. It's not only one of the best sequels, one of the best movies of the 80s, I would think.
I think it's my favorite movie of the 80s.
Yeah, the decade.
There's just nothing wrong with it.
It's it feels so... It's like so poetic almost in its terror. Like it's terror.
It was groundbreaking in a lot of ways. It was the first really true female lead that she started off having PTSD from her first encounter with the alien, didn't want to go back. Finally, she just mans up when she's called upon, when something gets threatened, like I guess that's why they had to have Newt, the little girl.
The little girl, yeah.
That brought out the sort of alpha maleness in Sigourney Weaver. It's like, get away from her, you bitch.
Yep. Yeah, she kicks ass. I mean, and she really is one of the
she doesn't want to. She's just backed into a corner and has to.
Yeah, I know. I do enjoy that. And it's not.
And the whole time she's getting sidelined by almost every male figure in the movie, except for Michael Bihn's character, Corporal Hicks. He's the only one that's like, yeah, okay, I'm on your level. We're equals here, and don't worry, I've got your back.
Right. Yeah, because she's basically this civilian and she's the only, the reason why she's brought in to these with these Marines is she's the only person who's ever survived an encounter with this xenomorph, this alien being. So they bring her in to...
well, at this point, they don't even believe in the existence of aliens. They just go to check it out.
They don't really know what they've got on their hands yet, right? Exactly. Because, they've just got her stories, really. They've got her stories.
Yeah, but still, I mean, they do find out that the colonists are missing,
Yeah.
Only because Paul Reiser's character actually sends them to the derelict ship to check out to make sure there is really alien eggs
Paul
there.
Reiser's in this movie?
It's kind of weird.
It's so weird to me. It's like the mad about you guy is like the corporate
in the mid-'80s,
asshole.
the corporate asshole who's just totally mercenary and just cutthroat and out for his own profit is totally fits. He was Gordon Gekko in space.
He was. Yeah, exactly. Or he reminds me of
just purely driven by greed and profit.
Yeah. It's but yeah, so Paul Reiser convinces
and
Ripley to go back.
Just completely calls it. She's like, I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them fucking each other over for a percentage.
Hi-oh.
Hey-oh. Yeah, I know. He's like, that stings. That hurts.
I don't think he seems hurt by that at all.
No,
He's
he
just
doesn't
like,
care.
Oh, wouldn't you do that? This is common sense, right?
Exactly. And they're not there to save colonists or just destroy the alien. They're there to get it so they can figure out how to make money off of it. The corporate bastards that they are. Ugh, I hate those guys. No. But yeah, aliens.
Profit is the root of all evil. We prove it.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think the vision is so strong, the effects are so strong, you really get sucked into the world. The visceral sliminess of it really comes through. The alien designs are great. I love they kind of have more the rigid looking heads, and they don't really have like the smooth.
Well, it's
dome.
interesting. It's like every time they molt, they sort of mutate. And like the dog alien in Alien 3 is a completely different version of the standard typical aliens that we're used to. Xenomorphs, I'm sorry.
I know. Well, we know what you mean. The aliens, yeah. And yeah, are they really? I mean, I feel like the xenomorph is kind of just a term that they don't really know what to call these things. They just kind of call them that as the default.
I think alien sounds better, though. I mean, I wouldn't want to go see a movie called Xenomorph.
Xenomorph. I don't know. That might be cool. So what? Yeah. So Aliens, it kicks ass. It's got some of the best dialogue. Mostly Bill Paxton.
Yep, every line he says
in the best role.
He had a small role in Terminator. He was recast again.
Yeah, he kind of becomes the de facto smart ass for the group.
Yeah, and Michael Biehn actually was not originally cast in Aliens. He was hired on a week after the shooting started. The original guy who was going to play Corporal Hicks was fired from the set. So,
ouch.
Nice.
That's why you don't see him in too many of the early scenes, and he just shows up there. But I think he really knocked it out of the park. I actually like Michael Bihn's character of Hicks better than the guy who played in Terminator. I can't remember the character's name. Do you? What was his character in Terminator?
His character's name? Kyle Reese.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Kyle Reese. Yeah, and it's one of those where they made all these they made their own guns. They made they had to go through all this. They made
they
those
were based on military.
They're so cool. The flamethrowers were just the best.
The torching of the
they just like
nursery.
the way they would just kind of carry them around on the waist, like they had.
Well, those are the smart guns.
Okay. I mean, just one of those movies that is endlessly rewatchable, kicks ass.
Yep, I watched it again a couple nights ago.
And the alien, and what I thought was interesting is especially the alien queen at the end. James Cameron designed that.
He did.
That's
not H.R. Geiger. That's actually James Cameron designing that.
Yeah, and I think I was watching maybe a similar documentary where they kind of made these rough models of them and tried to figure out the size, and so they had all these different sizes.
14 feet tall.
Yeah, and it's a real thing. It's 14 feet tall, and they
took 3 people to puppet.
Jeez.
Oh, at least. I think there were some scenes where you saw it moving around where it took many more.
Well, some of those scenes were actually just small-scale models. And you can't tell because the way the film is lit. That this is James Cameron got into an argument with the original director of photography over the lighting of the alien nest. And Galen Hurd had to fire him. And the entire British crew walked off the set when they fired the DP.
Damn.
So, and they also didn't think that James Cameron could handle a movie on the level of Alien. They're all like, Ridley Scott's the man, So Terminator hadn't been released in the UK at this point. So the crew hadn't seen it, didn't know what James Cameron was capable of.
Oh, so they had no idea
Galen Hurd arranged a
was.
screening, apparently. Huh. If I'm reading this right.
Gail Hurd, the producer,
who was also married to James Cameron. Yeah. They were a husband and wife team.
Right.
And after they saw Terminator, all their fears were put aside, and They
I would
gave
hope
it all
so.
their all, and that's
Yeah.
it's like, okay, yeah, if this guy's gonna make it, I'm on board.
That's funny. Yeah, well, he was, he was. I think the one thing that keeps coming up with James Cameron, he's such a workaholic. He's just, I mean, he's been married 5 times. Him and Gail Hurd didn't make it. They were married at the time.
Yeah.
They didn't make it because he is just such a workaholic. I think he
Marriage counseling 101. Do not make a film with your wife.
Yeah, probably.
It's not going to end well.
Yeah, that's up there. Or just if you're gonna put the work before family,
The arguments you're going to have,
Yeah.
my God. Especially if she's the one, channeling all the fundage.
Exactly. Yeah. So well, he would eventually
Telling
marry,
you what effects budget you can spend.
Yeah, don't make her in charge
You're
of
going
the
to have
money.
that
That's for
argument over dinner over a glass of wine.
sure. Yeah, exactly. Dear, I need this shot. I gotta have it. You gotta let me do
Now,
it.
come on. Now, give me an extra $5 million.
Come on, they won't notice. No one cares.
That's a conflict of interest, right?
That is. But they made it work. Aliens is one of the best, and
Something worked.
it's it's just so memorable. I mean, like I said earlier,
Every scene is memorable.
all the lines,
There's
game
not a
over, man. I mean, what's
line
the
of
best
dialogue
line?
wasted.
Yeah. What's the best line?
How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit?
Why do you put her in charge? That's one of my favorites. The final battle with the what is that thing called? The big yellow
It's like the
Cargo
mover.
loader?
the cargo loader, yeah, versus the queen.
That was a puppet as well.
That is just such an amazing and he just is able to shoot it so well that you don't know, like you said, you don't notice.
It's all in the lighting.
You
That's
wouldn't
why the
notice.
lighting is so dim. And there's so much smoke and steam. And
Yeah.
there's so much steam on the set that in order to get that effect, they had to have heaters underneath the set.
Right.
And it must have been 100 degrees, swamp weather.
And I love there was but
With the
but
fans all blowing. But it totally it pulls you into, you feel like you're
does.
there.
yeah.
It feels dirty and grimy and sweaty and like hell.
And when Bishop gets speared and all the milk's coming out of him and stuff.
Yeah, he said he got food poisoning on the set of that, talking about piranha.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Because
I
he
wonder
had
what
to
crazy
drink all
idea he
this
came up
warm
with.
milk and yogurt, and he had to do so many takes of it that he actually vomited
Yeah.
several times.
So gross. But they have the way that tail comes out of his chest. It was like just this flat prosthetic that basically, I don't know even how they were able to do it. They basically just slid it up his stomach and then out through the chest.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
doing
just a
like
piece of
hand
foam.
motions and stuff for the listener. You can't see it. but I'm-
And creative angles, because if you
Yeah.
see, when he gets stabbed, it's from the side.
Right. It's just so amazing how he's able to put all those pieces together. And the thing I was watching, it's like the crew members are like, I don't know how this is going to work. And then he would let them watch the dailies being just the raw footage you would shoot that day. You watch it, and by watching that, then they could all kind of see what he's putting together, 'cause
Yeah.
it's one of those where
Well, he wanted them to train together as well,
Mm-hmm.
because they developed a level of camaraderie and friendship that is evident on screen. Like,
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
Vasquez and Drake, the frontline soldiers with the smart guns, I think they were in a relationship, because
could
she's
see that.
devastated when he gets splattered in the face with acid and dies.
right. Yeah. They, as for all the shit they give each other, you get that real sense of
Yeah,
camaraderie,
they
for sure.
definitely hooked up.
Well, and who's the kind of the tough
I love it when
Sergeant character.
Hudson goes up to her, "Hey Vasquez, you ever been mistaken for a man?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Nope. Have you?"
have you?
Oh!
Such a burn.
It's like
Epic.
Hudson can't say anything without getting burned. He thinks he's badass, but he gets shut down after every response.
I know. He's such a smart ass. So funny. Yeah, Aliens. I mean, it's almost one of those where I feel like we're talking about movies that everyone has got to have seen, right? People
Yeah,
have seen
everyone
these
knows
movies.
these lines. You
So,
know?
yeah,
Yo,
I don't want to be, redundant and just saying we love these movies. I mean, it's an obvious statement, but man, it's one of those where the movie really gets into your brain. It kind of works its way in there, and if it becomes more real the more you think about it. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, you
yeah, it
watch
does feel like you're watching a documentary at some point.
or just like it takes on like these extra dimensions kind of in your
People-
imagination.
well-
And maybe that's what it is. Like Cameron with all the darkness and the quick
He really
cuts.
humanizes his characters.
But he puts you there. Like, I think he really puts you in their shoes, right? And you feel the terror they feel when they start getting
Right.
overwhelmed.
You can tell in their dialogue
And the
that
horror
they
that they
really are
feel.
scared. And this is, if you were in their shoes, you would absolutely be falling apart like Hudson.
Right. And maybe the extreme conditions on the set, with
That's
all the
it,
heat
man.
and the
Game
fire,
over.
that helps. That probably adds to these performances, and that is really comes true in The Abyss. Which let's take a break, and then we'll come back because I really want to get into The Abyss and give that some time because I think that is one of the most underrated
Underwater
just gems, underrated gems of
Underrated underwater
ever.
gym ever.
I love it. So I'm Charlie.
I'm Ben.
My man.
We're going to be right back with some more hops and some more monsters. The reason why I kind of wanted to do a James Cameron episode is because recently I heard he's writing and wants to make Avatar 2 through 5.
Right. And we'll wrap up with
Through
Avatar. We'll
5?
mention that at the end.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He's got 4 sequels written to this one movie that got made 8 years ago that no one really wants to see a sequel to. Like, no one wants to see a sequel to this, And I mean, that's the thing, like with Terminator 2, it's like every year that a sequel wasn't made, the demand for the sequel increased. It's like everyone wanted to see more of this. Nobody wants to see more Avatar. No one's asking to see more hair plugging into animals, riding dragon flies around. Whatever that was. It's so. But he's got apparently 4 of them. He's got 4 full-length movies.
Hey, the kids love it.
That's some deep character
I
development.
guess. Do they? I mean, do they?
I wonder if Sigourney
Is any
Weaver's
kid-
character is written into the script somewhere.
I hope so. I
can't
hope they're
bel-
all about her. I hope
She had-
she takes over, and it's like, her.
She hasn't
Avatar
done anything recently, right?
fights aliens or something. I mean,
Yeah,
if you get the blue creatures from Avatar to fight the engineers from Prometheus,
Oh, that's
I think
a
we've got a
crossover.
story.
Well, that could happen
I think
because
we've got a movie there.
if it turned out that actually all these characters in the Cameron universe were related somehow,
Oh, that would be cool. The Terminator versus. Well, have they done Terminator versus aliens? They've done Terminator versus maybe
They've done
Superman,
Aliens
or no,
versus
they've done
Predator.
Aliens versus Superman, and like Batman versus the Predator and stuff. They've done those kind of crossovers. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if Dark Horse did something.
oh, I know
Yeah.
there's got to be. No, you know what? I'm almost positive
Dark Horse is all over that shit.
there was recently like a Terminator Aliens, probably Superman or something crossover. It's
they
like,
could do it with alternate universes crossing over.
why not?
Like in one version, Earth is taken over by Cyberdyne Systems and Skynet, and
Yeah,
they
it is.
cross over into another dimension where that didn't happen, but
Or-
then we encountered xenomorphs.
Or what if it's the corporation from Aliens,
Wayland Yutani.
right? Them versus Skynet. It's like those are like the
Ooh.
2 last corporations on Earth or something like that. The one that's like controlling all the systems on Earth, and then Wayland up in the stars doing all the
don't-
mining. I mean, they could coexist.
They couldn't exist in the same universe, but they could in alternate universes, and they could cross over.
You think so? You
Yeah.
don't think they could exist in the same universe?
No.
Well, no, because
Because Skynet's like
Skynet would have
all
wiped them
encompassing,
out.
right?
Yeah, and
Skynet's the one that gets rid
It's
of
the problem with
humanity.
human greed that, if there's profits to be made, then there's no way a company like Wayland Yutani is going to let something like Skynet take over.
Unless they were already off the planet and
That's what I mean.
they were
like,
so
they're-
far away that they
they're
couldn't
kind of
get
doing all the
communication.
off-world stuff. They're mining.
Apparently,
all the,
Wayland Yutani started in 2012, so we're already
Oh.
2 years into the timeline of this fictional company.
It's
Oh.
2017, my man. We're 5 years in.
Yeah. Well, Judgment Day happened in 1997.
Yeah, Skynet took
So,
over in the 90s. So
Yeah, we're there. Yeah, that's
Wayland Yutani never would have-
maybe Wayland Yutani is just Skynet branching off, like the computers.
No,
like,
it's
I'm going to start a
purely
new
driven by human
corporation
greed,
for,
unfortunately.
for the off-world stuff.
Yeah. Well, shit.
Well, shit. All right, this is Hops and Monsters. We're back. We had a great break where we were talking about all this great stuff, and we should have been recording the whole time, but you won't get to hear it, listener. Sorry.
You gotta be here.
Yeah, you got
Tickets are available
Yeah,
for $20.
Yeah,
we
could
should
have a
do live
audience.
events, right?
We have like 6 people in here watching us, drinking
don't
with
Karen
us.
and Georgia from My Favorite Murder do live events that sell
Well,
out
yeah,
like crazy?
yeah, exactly. At theaters in Chicago. I don't think we're getting offers to play the the Luther Burbank Center or anything yet.
Broadway. I
I'm
want to
sure,
be on
we
Broadway.
could talk to Tom and get something going at the Phoenix. If
Yeah, we could probably maybe we could do something at the Phoenix. Sure, yeah.
there wouldn't be anyone there, just some
No.
kids skating around. in
Yeah,
the
it'd be a
line.
bunch. You would hear kids skating in the background, and then someone calling us a fag like halfway through. Hey, that's not nice. All right. Well, I'm Charlie.
I'm Ben.
Oh man.
Today we're talking James Cameron. We're drinking beers. We finished the Orange Auroralis. We didn't really give it its due. So I want to say
I wasn't
Clown
impressed.
Shoes. Clown Shoes is good, but yeah, this one didn't really have.
I didn't taste the blood orange in it at
Didn't
all.
really have the orange flavor in it, which is kind of a weird complaint to be like, I didn't taste the orange in the beer, but if that's what you're doing. But I do like the cover with Miracle Mike and the Bulldog on the Planet Orange. So we always get Clown Shoes when we see it. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
typically I like everything in their line, but
If
this
nothing
is,
else, the label.
I was really
gets me.
excited when we saw this, but now we're kind of let down.
Oh, sorry.
Damn it.
Well, they're not going to.
Well, it's not as bad as that smog lifter. That was actually horrible.
Oh, jeez. You don't like them very much at all. It sounds
No,
like.
I love clown shoes.
No, I
It's
like
just
don't
the last
fit.
smog
two-
cutter or something. Yeah.
The shoes don't fit.
Well, the problem is that we started with the space cake. It's like starting with dessert.
Oh man, it's so good.
So it's like you can't. How do you top birthday cake beer? I mean, I don't know if you can. So
Gingerbread beer. We
Gingerbread
did
beer.
try that Ben and Jerry's
oh, that was not. Yeah,
chocolate chip cookie dough
that
beer.
was not good. That was not as good. Cake is good. Ice cream beer, not so much.
So now we're drinking Liquid Sweater by Ex Novo,
Yeah,
brewed with pride in Portland, Oregon.
this is
which-
out of Portland.
So many of my favorite beers are from Portland.
I know.
Go
Let's
figure.
try this one. What is this? It's got a bit of a red look.
It's a winter warmer ale.
Okay.
That's what it
Very
says.
very dark malt.
A little bit salty.
This is like a Christmas ale kind of a thing. Yeah,
plentiful
totally.
malt, very dark.
All right. Well, I liked the
like
name
it.
Liquid Sweater. It made me think of like an emo band or something.
Right? No, I bought this I picked this out for you, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
I didn't
I
buy it. You
appreciate
did, but I picked it out.
You're like, I don't like it, but I'll buy it. Yeah, Liquid Sweater.
If you don't like it,
It's
pour
like a
it on
dashboard
yourself
confessional of beers.
and keep yourself warm.
All right, so
Moving on with
Moving
James
on.
Cameron,
So
we're
we-
going to talk about The Abyss,
The Abyss.
a very underrated underwater film.
It's the most underrated underwater film I think of all time. I really, I grew up. This one was one of those gems.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I had the VHS. I still have the VHS edition of the extended version of it.
yes, I know. We got to talk about the extended version because that's a whole can of worms. I
Well,
don't
it's
think a lot
sort
of
of
people
Close
know about.
Encounters, where it's just at the end they show you more footage of what the aliens are like and
Right.
where
So
their
this
environment.
is So this movie starts out as kind of like a it's an underwater oil rig crew kind of a thing,
Yeah,
right?
Ed Harris,
Ed Harris, who this movie I
who's
mean
amazing in Westworld, by
you
the
know,
way. Go see that if you haven't seen it yet.
I was just gonna say, having watched Westworld recently, I love Ed Harris.
He's great in everything I've seen him in.
Fucking love him. I love him in The Right Stuff when he plays John Glenn. I love him in Apollo 13. So all the
I
space
can't
movies.
think of a
he's
bad
great.
film he's been in.
He's great in The Abyss. He and Elizabeth, the lady
Mary
with the
Master
big name?
Antonio.
Master Antonio. That is a hell of a name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They are kind of like this estranged couple, but they're
I
working
think
on the
she
oil
was Al
rig.
Pacino's sister in Scarface. Was that where she got her start?
Maybe. I don't know really what else Master Antonio was in. We'll have to look that up here. Mary Elizabeth. But yeah, this is kind of James Cameron really getting into kind of the relationship drama, romance kind of stuff, as well as the sci-fi.
Kind of autobiographical because, Ed Harris's character is married to Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio. And of course, they're divorced and arguing and fighting over their pet baby, a submersible oil rig.
She was in Scarface, the sister.
Right?
Yes. Gina Montana.
Huh.
Yeah. So you had that right.
She always plays intense
you were thinking of
characters.
Godfather, yeah.
I mean, she definitely seems
Oh, and
like
she's made married in that really kind of
yeah. She always
cheesy
plays the
Kevin
shrew.
Costner Kevin Costner
Oh, Robin Hood.
Robin Hood movie.
Yeah. Not as good as Men in Tights.
No. not
That
at
was
all.
way better. Like the
Much
parody
better.
was better than the original.
More true to the story probably.
Oh, come on. Haven't you seen that Russell Crowe version of...
No. Speaking of Ridley Scott, yeah, no. I never did see that one. I
Kind of don't need to if you've seen Gladiator. Same thing.
Yeah, I was just about to say I'm probably the only guy who didn't really like Gladiator. So
what?
I don't. I didn't get off on the Crow Ridley Scott collaboration, so I didn't see Robin Hood.
You know, and speaking of things that we saw last week that was awesome, Nice Guys. I think Russell Crowe and the really handsome dude.
Gosling.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling.
That movie.
I know that was maybe my favorite
so
Russell
good.
Crowe I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it reminded me of like Lethal Weapon, but filmed in the 70s on the set of Boogie Nights.
Well, there you go. Shane Black, writer of Lethal Weapon,
right?
directed it. Yeah, well, it
doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah,
you know?
I know, right?
Really fucking good though. Go see it.
Go see it, y'all. Nice guys. All right, back to the
I
Abyss.
laughed so hard.
Do you guys like the ocean?
I'm terrified of the ocean.
I am terrified of the ocean. Ben, you got an opinion on the ocean?
I avoid the ocean. I mean, we live on the ocean, but I like the mountains better. You know,
Sure.
If you tell me I have to go snowboarding or
okay.
or surfing,
I guess I'm
gonna go snowboarding.
Maybe maybe that's. Would you rather spend?
I mean, it's all water.
Would you rather spend a week in the mountains or a week underwater? A week, or would you rather spend
I don't have
2 years underwater like they did with this movie?
I'm afraid of everything else except heights.
Okay.
So I'll take the
You're not
mountains
afraid of
every
heights?
time.
Yeah.
And get me out of the water because I get seasick, motion sickness.
Well, the ocean to me, it's maybe it's Jaws, maybe it's the just growing up in the northern California coast.
It's
you
not
gotta
to be
you gotta watch out.
messed with.
You gotta watch out for the
undertows and
Yeah.
the things that can drown you in a
It's
blink of an
dangerous.
eye.
It's been instilled in
I've
me
had
that
friends
it's
that have
dangerous.
drowned out on the coast. Okay, so
Wow. Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
what I love about the ocean is just the immense unknown
it's really
about it.
powerful.
It's
Well,
so
the unknown
big
is what I fear. I
is
mean,
that you have no idea what's in there, especially like super deep, where like in
Yeah.
the remote areas of the ocean where we haven't explored because it's just there's no funding, there's no time.
There's a theory that there may actually be an ocean the size of the Atlantic inside the Earth.
I heard about
And-
that.
inside the earth,
It's water's worth. It's not a whole ocean. It's water
Yeah.
trapped inside of rock.
under the crust or something.
In 1995, we started discovering a whole new species of manta rays that are blind that have just popped up from out of nowhere, like 1,500 different variations
Weird.
of rays and sharks.
I did not know
And
that.
the theory is that they came from somewhere that's so far down, but now
Yeah.
they're in warm waters up near the surface, like in the Indian Ocean, and we
Well,
can't
that-
figure out where these just all of a sudden came from unless they
Yeah.
were inside the Earth. They're blind because they don't need vision.
Well, I always think of the statistic about how we know more about the surface of the moon than the surface of the ocean.
That's what they say. I find
know?
that hard to believe, but apparently,
Well, it's hard to. I mean, it's like it's hard to get a camera down there. You're talking
can't stand the pressure.
James Cameron. It's hard
James
to.
Cameron.
Hello.
We did get a James Cameron down there.
We got a
Yes.
James Cameron down there. But because it's so. The Marianas Trench, is something like 1,500 miles long, and it's 37,000
It's like the
feet
Grand
deep.
Canyon.
It's damn deep.
on the bottom of the ocean.
No, it's like having a it's like we fly at 34,000 feet above the earth in a plane. So imagine that distance under the surface of the water. That's how
ocean.
deep you got to go.
Under the sea.
You're talking like 7 miles under the ocean. So and then every time you see a creature or some fish, the angler or the thing with the giant jaw, they just look so alien to me. It freaks me out.
Yeah.
man.
there's also
it really genuinely freaks me out. It's crazy.
There's a lot of biologists now that think that octopus, because their DNA is so alien to everything else on this planet besides squids and cuttlefish, that maybe that actually is alien DNA. Maybe those are aliens.
Something's going on down
The modern
there.
octopus.
Yeah, something's going on. For things to be able to live on a vent that is spewing just
Superheated jets
the,
of water.
The water is it's
and
basically
super
it's basically an
freezing.
underwater volcano shooting this
And microbes
boiling
are
water
living on
out,
there.
and these things are living on it, just plucking this boiling water out. And I mean the pressure. How are things supposed to live down there? But they do.
Nature finds a way, man.
bizarre.
As
So-
long as there's water, there's going to be something that grows there.
For me, that's the context of The Abyss. Like when you watch The Abyss, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how impossible life is down there. I'm thinking about how dangerous it is down there. And this movie was filmed in a giant tank, all underwater. I mean, they're really
most
in those
expensive
suits.
film made at the time.
Most difficult
in the
film
early 90s.
ever made too. Yeah, reportedly. I mean, because so what goes into making this movie is like building an actual, basically an oil rig underwater, having all these submersibles, training all these people. All these actors are now like certified divers and trained to do all the scuba stuff, and it's the story itself is a really compelling story. Basically, it's close encounters underwater is one way to put it.
With your ex-wife.
Yeah, with the ex-wife.
Sounds like hell to me.
Yeah, nothing bad's gonna happen when you're trapped underwater with your ex.
Yeah, in a claustrophobic, confined
one of you's gonna
situation.
die.
Yeah.
And if you've seen this movie, you know one of you does.
So was this kind of like James Cameron's personal life experience? And
I think he was Ed Harris in this
Honestly,
film. He wrote himself in.
I was watching this great making of documentary on this, and the first thing basically Cameron said to the actors when they arrived is, "Welcome to my nightmare." And, maybe he meant that literally on a technical standpoint, or maybe he meant like I have basically
his Mary Master
recreated.
Antonio's character, Galen Hurd, then.
Maybe, yeah. Or maybe Catherine Bigelow at this point, because he had been married to director Catherine Bigelow, and I think they broke up basically.
Did I hear you say that he has been married 5 times?
5 times. I did say that earlier, yeah. 5 times.
Damn.
But, the last one has stuck. The last one's been about 10 or 15 years they've been married, so God bless
5 times a charm, okay.
But, yeah, what are you going to do,
It doesn't take 3, it takes 5 attempts, people.
If you're going to live that Hollywood lifestyle, I say go for it. Anyways, The Abyss, I love it. It's got some of the great first kind of computer-generated effects with that, you remember that kind of water worm looking thing that
was
goes
early
around?
CGI.
Very early CGI, very early, and there's actually a point where they digitally map Ed Harris and Master Antonio's faces and put that on the water thing. The water thing is mimicking their faces. It's really cool. But so this movie, it's great, and then at about 2 hours, it just kind of it turns into this alien movie. Like the aliens really aren't there at the beginning. You kind of only figure out that deep in the deepest parts of the ocean, something is living. Something that looks a lot like a manta ray. If you remember the design of those aliens, they have the light up kind of look. It kind of surprised me when you talked about that, about seeing these manta rays and sharks coming up from the deep. I'm like, well, that's kind of what happens in this movie. This thing that we didn't know is down there kind of comes up.
Yeah, but wasn't that thing that was a manta ray supposed to be their version of a submersible vehicle? Or was it an actual life form?
Maybe. It could be kind of like that,
I
because there's
like
kind of like heads
something
in it. You can kind of see the aliens within the manta ray look. So yeah, it might be something like that. But basically, it's one of those where the more I think about it, the more James Cameron's nightmare really it rings true. Like he probably ate some bad fish, and had this same kind of like the Terminator.
Never eat sushi again.
Yeah, he's like, God damn it! Every time with this thing, no more oysters.
I was tripping balls after this raw bar experience.
The thing that's the most awesome thing about The Abyss is, once again, he's really nailed it with the cast. Every character in the film is believable. You see people having straight up nervous breakdowns, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's probably what would happen.
He is kind of the master.
He recast Michael Biehn again from Aliens.
No. God,
and he plays a totally different character this time around. He plays more of the Carter Burke type character.
Yeah, he's a Navy SEAL.
Yeah,
very hard-headed.
Has the bends, so it has a psychotic break.
Yeah,
yeah, it's funny how you put a mustache on Michael Biehn and automatically looks like an asshole. I like him better clean shaven, for sure.
Yeah, Michael Biehn and James Cameron must get along like gangbusters.
I mean, he looks like a cop,
Yeah. He's a total like 80s cop look in this movie. So the extended edition, because I got to talk about this because you've seen it.
I have it on VHS. You probably have it on Laserdisc.
I have it on Laserdisc.
Yeah.
There's a special extended, almost 3-hour version of this movie. But it's one of those where we were kind of talking about it earlier. It's like most director's cuts, they kind of just show you a couple of little extra things and maybe they flesh it out. This adds a whole new element to the story, where in the theatrical cut, basically the aliens show themselves and then rise to the surface, and that's kind of the end of the movie. in the extended cut, the aliens threaten mankind. Do you remember this?
Yeah, they turn on all our nukes or something.
No, they.
Oh no, that happened in real life.
They show. Yeah, they do the tidal wave thing. Do you remember that? Where they basically.
Oh yeah.
They basically send all these tidal waves to the coastlines around the globe, and then they stop the water just as it's about to hit just as it's about to hit the coastline. And it's a great effect. I mean, it looks amazing, and it kind of drives home the idea that there's bigger forces at play, and it's almost like one of those things, like maybe these creatures were Atlantean, legends before, and now they're kind of under the surface. And I don't know. I think you got to see the extended edition. I
got to watch it again.
Yeah. Watch it again, because it really drives that whole, because the first one, like I said, it kind of just like they show up and then that's it, and it's a bit abrupt even after 2.5 hours. This one, it really it plays up the Russia United States like nuclear aggression. It plays up a lot of that drama, and then it's basically the aliens saying, we'll take you out with the tidal waves if you and it's like the humanity gets the warning.
That's true. There were Russians in the movie. There was the Hunt for Red October scenario where the Russian submarine crashes.
Right, exactly.
In the beginning, because it encounters an alien and flips out or something.
Right.
Which actually really did happen in the 80s. A Russian sub did sink, and it was an enormous tragedy.
Oh yeah. Well, it's there's so many close calls during the Cold War, right? So many times when the one story I always think about is the guy who sees that missiles have been launched, but he doesn't press. He doesn't do anything because he thinks it could be like a computer glitch.
Heroes
and it was
in Russia. They have had chances to nuke us, and they've stopped.
Yeah, it's crazy how close it's come. But yeah, I think this movie really drives that home, and I think you really get that message in that extended. But at the time, in the late '80s, I think this was released in '89. There were no 3-hour movies. Like, you didn't go see a 3-hour movie in the theater. I mean, there might have been, there was movies like Kubrick movies or art house movies, but if you wanted a mainstream blockbuster movie, it wasn't 3 hours long.
Well, they would always shoot 4 hours, and the studio would make them cut it down to 2.
No one wants 2 VHS tapes to
exactly. It's that era where you have to think about that, yeah. And Cameron actually did shoot his movies in such a way that you could present them in widescreen and full screen mode. He was aware of that when he made his movies.
Yeah, no, he was all about aspect ratio.
Yeah.
Like, just to return to Aliens real quick, the Sulaco, the ship the Colonial Marines are on, originally that was supposed to be a giant sphere. Spherical craft, but Cameron was like, no, we can't shoot that because the aspect ratio will be all wrong, because I want it to come at you from the screen, and the sphere can't do that. It's gonna throw off the focus. So they designed the Sulaco, the ship that the Marines were on. It looked like just a big pulse rifle in space.
Yeah, I always thought it looked like a gun.
That's exactly what they were going for.
I'm sure that's exactly what they were going for. Yeah, exactly. So that's a great little tidbit about Cameron, is that he came up as a director in the era.
He's very technical.
Era of their video
bases his shots based on
khakis
aspect
in my
ratio.
khakis.
Yeah, and he really he knew half the people watching his movie were going to do it on video, and so he made it as much an experience for them as for the theatrical crowd, and that is really something that did not exist at that time. That's what's so crazy. So, anyways, that's The Abyss. Let's wrap it up with some Terminator 2. My favorite movie of his. I have kind of a personal story to go along with this. Do you want to hear a personal?
Hell yeah,
yeah.
Okay. So I've told you about how I was a sheltered child. Couldn't watch any R-rated movies growing up, except when I went to my babysitter, and they had Terminator 2: Judgment Day on VHS, and me and my brother would watch that. Every time we went over there, we would demand to watch it after they let us watch it the first time.
It's a damn good film.
And
it's one of the ones that's even better. It's like Aliens.
Right.
They just took it even further than the original. And the original's great.
The original's perfect.
Awesome, in fact, but they just dial it to 11 on the sequel.
They do. And that is the movie where I judge all other action movies by Terminator 2.
That's a good one.
Because the scale of the action sequences, the brutality of some of the kills, and that villain, that T-1000. I mean, making the knives out of your arms and stuff. That's nothing beats that to me.
Even the sound design, like the every time he comes on, like his theme, that's just gets into your spine.
No, I think Cameron was definitely the definition of blockbuster in the 90s.
Exactly. Yeah, he really knew how to make it for the big screen, as much as we were just talking about the video audience. But yeah, and Terminator 2, you would watch it on a 19-inch screen at the babysitter's house, but it felt like the big screen.
Yeah, you felt like you were in a theater.
It felt huge, and the scene where she dreams about Los Angeles getting nuked is horrifying and enthralling, and the skeletons burst, the people bursting, and such. I'd never seen anything like it. So it's one of those that it really stuck with me because I saw it at the early age. The action, the effects of the makeup effects of Arnold, the skin coming off the robot, ever so slowly, and the molding of the
they really
morphine effects
took CGI to the next level on this one compared to the Abyss.
And it was clean, especially even by today's standards.
It looks good.
Yeah, I mean, it's compared to now, it's dated, but it's still smooth.
Right.
It doesn't look like, someone did it in their basement nowadays with current technology, because I mean, they could totally pull off those effects with basic technology now.
Right.
And implement it then, but it was smooth, like when the T-1000 goes through the prison bars.
Those bars, yeah, that's a great scene.
Smooth. He pulls out the that spear from his side. That's smooth.
Yep. Or when she blasts him with the shotgun and like the one eye is all and then it kind of goes back to normal. I mean, that holds up. Yeah, that still looks good today.
Timeless.
Yeah, I loved it. So for me, that is just the essential. And and at the time it's got this 12-year-old kid. I was probably, about that age. I identified with the kid character being kind of a smart ass.
Hacking
again,
ATMs.
The dialogue in that movie is amazing, and so quotable, and that's where I learned the word dickweed for the first time.
Interestingly, not used anymore.
Yeah, dickweed never really stuck around. That was definitely
it's unfortunate.
90s slang.
It was quite creative.
Yeah, I liked it.
And featuring Budnick from Salute Your Shorts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's great. He's the friend. The cast is great once again. I mean, Cameron gets everything out of Schwarzenegger's never better than in those movies. I mean, he really, as much as the joke is that he plays a robot, so he's obviously this emotionless actor. I mean, he really nails the calculated.
Well, he saves the big emotional roles for like Kindergarten Cop.
Well, yeah, you got to. Yeah, Junior.
Commando with Alyssa Milano.
Oh yeah, he's a caring father.
Very caring.
Yeah, I love it. But
I think the last great Schwarzenegger film was Predator. Did this come out prior or after?
This would definitely be after.
Okay, well then this is the last great.
I'd say probably this is the last great Schwarzenegger film.
Last Action Hero did not hold up.
Oh man,
End of Days.
Did I love that movie though when I was a
End
kid?
Yeah,
I loved Last Action Hero.
It was fun.
A kid. It was
I saw that one.
It was perfectly goofy. Yeah, what would the last great Schwarzenegger movie be?
Well, it's definitely not Terminator 3.
Probably, I was going to say, I mean, we weren't going to talk about this movie, but True Lies, James Cameron, Schwarzenegger,
that's right.
Mid-90s.
I never saw it.
I've seen
that
parts
one's fun. I mean, that is just fun for fun's sake. That one, there's no deeper context. There's nothing to it except boom, boom, bang, bang.
I'll have to check it out.
You never saw True Lies? It's a good one. It's fun, but it's totally just.
Doesn't he play like a
James all on the
Bond
surface.
type sort of spy?
Yeah,
I just don't. That's not believable to me.
No, yeah, he played this kind of. A
spy should be someone who goes unnoticed, and you definitely notice him when he walks in the room. He's the first person you're going to see.
Blowing up an entire building, they'll do that. Yeah, but yeah, that was the one where he pretended to be like a computer salesman in his everyday life. Oh, you got to see that movie just for Bill Paxton, though.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Once again, Paxton returns. He's a slimy car salesman in this one. Oh, you got to see it just for that.
All right,
it's awesome.
I'll watch it then.
Okay, good. Thank God.
You know what they really should have touched upon was the Terminator Salvation franchise, I guess if you would call it. Like it was perfect with Christian Bale and everything, and it kind of puts you into the post-apocalyptic
it's all
world.
in the post-apocalyptic version, yeah.
And they set it up, and they have it all. They have the end of him kind of going to confront everything,
Right.
and they leave it open for a sequel. And
Yeah, there's Terminator Genesis. That
Yeah,
was a
did you ever
sequel.
see Genesis?
that Genesis wasn't a sequel though. It was like it was
Well, it
a
was an alternate timeline.
yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one was weird, right? Because it was
made
kind
me
of like
uncomfortable.
going back to the first one, where you go back to the 80s.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, it was
Or do
it was the problem you were saying earlier. It was like there's this time paradox
Yeah.
where all of a sudden, if everyone can go back in time, then everything's irrelevant. You know,
Yeah.
because we can just, if some big disaster happens, it changes world events, we'll just go back in time a minute before that and stop it.
Yeah.
So when does that end? Once you can start traveling in time?
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking of earlier when I was talking about it. This, to me, Terminator is a time travel series. I mean, it's about the real consequences of, like, I know the robots are going back to kill my mom, so I will just send someone back to save my mom. Well, you're really counting on that guy to do the job.
But at the
That
same
is like-
time,
Why don't you just go back in time, abduct your mom, and bring her to the future?
again though,
Well, then she would never have you in the past, though.
here's
That's
the
the
paradox,
paradox.
though.
Yeah.
If you exist, you don't have to do shit.
Yeah.
If
Oh.
you simply exist, you're done.
That's true.
Everything's sorted out. You don't have to worry about anything.
I always think, I always get that because I always feel like there's obviously the alternate futures exist, but you can't, if you change the past.
I think
it's
it
such
hurts.
it's a
At
yeah,
every
it
opportunity,
hurts. I've had too much beer.
every
to think
time
about
there's
this.
I don't
a
think
chance
time
to
travel
change the
can
past,
happen.
an alternate future gets created, and by now there's just an infinite times a
that's
million
the
to
thing.
the
It's
second
like-
power.
It's like so every time I choose to either drink or not drink this beer,
You're creating
I'm
an
creating
alternate timeline.
Right. Every time I bring this beer to my lips, the amount of beer I drink would determine maybe a different. It's like the butterfly effect, right? The littlest
Starring
thing
Ashton
I
Kutcher.
do is going to split, this universe into some other different direction.
Yep.
So I blame myself for all this, for all the Trump stuff, and for everything bad that's happened.
is all
I must
your
have
fault.
done something in 1997.
Did
tripped
you ever
over
steal
a rock.
lollipop or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Like a
I
Tootsie Pop?
accidentally called a kid, stupid, and then he got mad, and now he's like, I'm going to take all
I'm
my
still pissed
aggression
about
out
that all these
politically
years later,
about
Charlie.
Yeah. So somebody messed up. Clearly, to be where we are now, somebody messed up.
But I think with Terminator Genesis is that it wasn't one timeline. It's multiple multiverses, and that's what they were kind of trying to go after.
Did you ever see the Sarah Connor Chronicles?
Yeah, I did.
The Chronicles.
With Summer Glau, yeah, that was
Those
awesome.
are pretty good, right?
Those are really good,
Those
and they
are
cut
fun.
it off at like, a really high cliffhanger,
Right.
and then they just stopped.
Thank you, network television.
Well, they could have totally ruined it. I mean, it's kind of cool that they left it on this suspense because they
Yeah.
could have just ran it totally into the ground.
That's true.
But I was captivated. It was one of those binge shows.
Definitely. I like the Terminator. I mean, even the Salvation and stuff, the new ones, they're not the
They're
same.
okay.
But they're
It's Terminator 3 that's really a piece of dog shit.
Oh, you don't like
Yeah.
Rise of the Machines? It ends with
Talk about wooden acting.
Well, yeah, it's that one I don't think holds up, but I like.
Did
the
James
end.
Cameron direct that?
No. he had
Thank
nothing.
God.
Yeah, I don't. Well, he might have. They probably gave him an executive producer credit or something. No, but he had nothing to do with that.
2003
So
was a
after
weird year.
after Terminator, after True Lies, he did Titanic.
Yes, he did Titanic.
Frightening.
Yeah, the big boat.
That goddamn iceberg scared the shit out of me.
The great thing that Cameron said about Titanic, which is why I'm a huge fan of his, is that he basically said he pitched that movie as an excuse to be able to go down in a submersible and see the wreck of the original Titanic, which he did.
Everything
he
else
went
was
down
the
in
icing
the
on
submarine.
cake.
He got footage of the original, and they used that in the movie. And that was like, yeah, I'll write some love story, whatever, blah blah blah.
And they're just like, just don't make an Abyss Part 2.
And yeah, exactly.
Like, what would happen, if in the Abyss they actually just found the wreck of the Titanic down there?
Whoa.
instead
Well, what
of
would happen at the
alien
end of
civilization?
Titanic if a bunch of glowing aliens suddenly rose up?
And what if they were actually
lifted
xenomorphs?
Leonardo DiCaprio up? Yeah, that would be great.
And what if the xenomorphs had blue skin
What it
and tails that plugged
and they
into
breathe salt water?
dragonflies or whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
So after Titanic, he did Avatar.
yeah, so after Titanic, he basically spent like a decade just diving. So I think the thing is the Abyss is maybe what started it, or maybe he has a passion for the ocean. That's kind of what I was asking about the ocean. I'm terrified of it. James Cameron cannot get enough of it.
Oh, James Cousteau, yeah.
James Cousteau down there. He's the first guy to solo dive, I want to say, the Challenger Deep, like the deepest point. He developed with people and built his own submersible to go down there. He spent a decade basically after Titanic just trolling.
Do you think
just straight trolling
he's going to
the depths
develop
of the
that
ocean?
rebreather apparatus where you breathe the liquid oxygen?
Dude, that in the movie was a thing that actually existed.
That exists?
That scene where they put the rat in it, they actually did that.
That was a rat was really breathing.
Yeah, they used 5 rats oxygen in 5 different takes, and they all lived.
They all died.
They all lived. They all lived. From that, they didn't die because of that.
Did Ed Harris have to really do that?
No, Ed Harris did not really do that. No, it was one of those technologies like someone from some university had developed it, and they had tested it in rats.
Obviously, that's gone over really well since then.
I don't think they ever did that in people's.
You never hear about that.
Because we're all doing that now. Yeah, exactly. We're all just breathing in the pink goo now. I think Ghostbusters 2 really hurt the pink goo.
Yeah.
Anything pink and gooey is like out the window.
You don't want to breathe that.
No,
Pure
you don't.
hatred.
It's like liquid cotton candy.
You don't want to do it.
Hey, if it's cotton candy flavored,
Yeah. That's a big selling point.
Hey,
definitely.
We should make an IPA that's cotton candy flavored.
I think it's done. I had a bubblegum ale. It was a bubblegum Hefeweizen over at that new brewery in Sebastopol, something Goat, the Raging
Crooked Goat.
Crooked Goat, yeah.
Really?
They had a bubblegum Hefeweizen.
Dude, we gotta go there and check that out.
It's good.
I'm curious.
Yeah, they have great beer there.
I feel like I've definitely seen a cotton candy though. Also, I'm sure.
I can't believe Clown Shoes hasn't made it.
That maybe they did. Yeah,
we gotta get into Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
I feel like that's like the 3rd time you've brought that up.
I know. I'm
you
must
love that
one.
movie.
It was just one of those.
If you want to host an episode,
we will definitely do a killer.
Theme.
You know what?
Yeah.
No, we'll definitely do a Killer Clowns episode. That definitely needs to happen at some point. But
good idea.
Well, yeah. So I mean, the last thing to talk about maybe is James Cameron now. I already brought up that he's doing all these Avatar sequels, but he did a movie called Avatar, which made $9 billion, and then no one ever saw it again. It's such a bizarre movie.
Yeah, I've seen it once, and I have no desire to see it again.
I saw it in 3D in a theater. I was pretty blown away by the special effects, yes, but the movie itself is so forgettable. It's just I don't remember really any of the characters.
More blown away by the fact that not only is Sigourney Weaver blue-skinned, but still looks just as hot as she has since I was like 10 years old.
As a 9-foot-tall blue cat-like animal.
No, actually, just her regular character. She's aged very well. She actually looks better the more she ages.
She is, Sigourney Weaver's. I wish her the best. I'd like to see more. She was great in her little bit in like Cabin in the Woods, and she's great but she doesn't really have anything substantial lately. Yeah, I'd like to see more. Sigourney, this is a direct message to you.
We'd love to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, be on the podcast.
I know you're listening.
We're trying to get Barbara Crampton, but you're our second choice.
Hey now.
Yeah, exactly. But that movie to me is like. So, but James Cameron is the guy who's written movies that have the most iconic like lines of dialogue. I'll be back. Hasta la vista, baby. Get away from her, you bitch. Game over. All the stuff that he's written is so memorable. I can't think. I couldn't tell you one line of dialogue from Avatar.
Did he let Bill Paxton come up with his own dialogue, or did he write every bit that?
I don't know. I don't know about that one. That's a good call.
Because a lot of Bill Paxton stuff seems improv.
Well, just the fact that Cameron allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
Because he could.
I'm just glad
I'll Be Back was definitely written. I'll Be Back was definitely written. That is probably the most iconic phrase of the 80s. I mean, if you had to really put it.
You know, when I first saw Terminator, I didn't even think that was even funny when I saw it. But it became something that the whole movie was defined on, and
right.
You know, Schwarzenegger was expected to like say this whenever.
Well, exactly right. That's like, yeah, he has to kind
of
throw that in.
So many films.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it's nothing. It's not even like a real like.
Yeah, it's not even funny. It's just I don't. It doesn't seem like a soundbite to me, but okay.
It's kind of like a meme of its time. It just
my IMO.
It just happened.
You know what? That's exactly what it is. It's like It's something that everyone hooked onto, and everyone parodied.
Yeah, he would say it in every movie after that.
Yep. He had to. Yeah, it was almost contractual. It's like, all right, we'll sign Arnold, but he's got to say it. He's got to say the line.
And everyone's expected to cheer and clap when they hear it on the film, too.
Can we
I thought Hasta La Vista Baby was pretty good, too. I liked Hasta La Vista
I always
Baby.
thought it would be cool to open an Italian restaurant and call it Pasta La Vista.
Yeah.
Baby?
Yeah. I'd have a picture of, the Terminator.
Sure, making pasta
Yeah.
with a chef's hat on.
Like he's got the
chef with, like,
gargoyle
the one red
sunglasses
eye.
and he's got like a ladle in his hand instead of a gun.
It would be a baby. Like the mascot's a baby that makes pasta. And it's the Pasta La Vista Baby.
Oh, the Pasta La Vista Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know the Pasta La Vista Baby?
Oh, you don't know the Pasta La Vista Baby? Yeah, it's a little baby.
So cute.
Makes
He
Pasta La Vista.
It's very, he washes his hands before.
Oh my God, that's a T-shirt. I feel like that's a T-shirt.
If it's not,
Pasta La Vista Baby.
Maybe we should make one under the Hops and Monsters moniker.
I love it. Let's make it happen. All right. What else about Jimmy Cams?
Sir Jimmy Cams.
We love him.
He should be knighted.
Yeah. I kind of wish he had stayed on track. I think the 10 years.
I mean, if Anthony Hopkins can get a knighthood from being Hannibal, Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony. I mean, he's probably British. That probably helps too, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to be British,
That's
right?
that's a thing.
But like you said, Canadian. Maybe he gets in under the wire. Yeah. Jim Cameron, the most profitable filmmaker of all time.
So is he still Canadian, or do you think does he have free health care?
Once Canadian, always Canadian. You know what I'm saying?
Dual citizenship?
Dual. Probably dual. Yeah, she's probably dual. Probably goes up to Ontario for a checkup.
Any of our
every now and
listeners
then.
out there, anyone who's Canadian, I'd like to get some of that free health care. So
Yeah,
if
let
there's
us
any
know.
single women out there, I'm down for that.
Any Canadians looking for U.S. citizenship in 2017?
And
why? But let us know.
No, I want Canadian citizenship.
Yeah,
so
well, tit
I
for
need
tat,
to
right?
marry somebody from Canada.
Okay. Well, I think maybe. How does that work? If they get yours, shouldn't you get theirs?
Yeah, well, it depends on where
All
you
I got is
declare
Kaiser.
residence.
Not that great.
Well, no, but yeah, if you're married a Canadian, they get U.S. citizenship, but shouldn't you get Canadian?
No, it depends on where you live. Like,
I wanna move
if you
to Canada.
decide to live in United States, then
Oh.
she gets.
You should move to Canada anyways. Ben.
Yeah, the
American
snow up
shithole
there is
here.
awesome,
It sucks
man.
here now.
Whistler, Vancouver, my God.
Yeah, you have to live
Sounds like
in a
heaven to
certain
me.
amount of time in one location for it to be valid.
I'll Skype this podcast in from Vancouver. Hell yeah.
Perfect.
As far as I know.
All right. We'll have beer. You'll drink maple syrup. Is that what they drink? What do they drink up there?
Hey,
Molson's.
I stayed up in Vancouver
Canadian
and I
whiskey?
had a maple syrup pale ale.
Really?
I stayed at this
I
place
bet
called
you did.
the.
I absolutely bet it.
That sounds so gross.
I know you.
I stayed at this hostel called the Canby in Gastown in Vancouver, and so the hostel is on top of this brew pub. And this was like 2008. This was during the Euro Cup, so every morning they would be broadcasting games from Europe on obviously like the time difference. So
Sure.
in Vancouver it was like 10 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and they'd open
yeah.
up the brew pub.
It'd
and
be packed.
I'd come downstairs first thing in the morning, grab a beer, and like hang out with all these Swiss guys and watch
That's cool.
soccer and just drink really cool beer.
Is soccer big in Canada? Not as big as hockey, I imagine.
big
Not as big as
everywhere.
hockey.
You know,
but
well, I
it's
think
big there.
rugby's pretty big in Canada too. I was talking to this guy from Vancouver who's saying they're really into rugby. I think we should get
Dude,
into rugby.
I'll get into
That sport
rugby
is
if I can
sick.
get Canadian citizenship.
There we go.
Well, there's your mission, man. You
I
have to
love it.
become
Yeah.
a professional.
Marry a
rugby
rugby player.
Is there any female rugby league players?
If
that
you're
are
out there,
looking to date, 'cause
let us know. Yeah.
hit us up on Hops and Monsters on Twitter.
Yeah, we're
Hops
on
and
Twitter.
Monsters
Facebook
at gmail.com.
At Gmail.
We have a
Mail.com.
Facebook, but we never check it. But I'll get
We got
get
the
on
book.
that.
We got an Instagram. We got all the
We got all the stuff that we never check. Right?
Yeah,
We're with it.
exactly.
We're with the
Well, we don't know what
times.
to do with it. We have all these things. We don't know what to do with it.
We're too busy watching movies and drinking beer to report back to you what's good.
Exactly.
We don't have time to check Twitter.
And,
I agree. Yeah, that's the truth of it. We're too busy working.
and
call
make
this
sure
work.
We're working here today. All right.
make sure you put attention Bjorn Shackelfjord in your title.
Yeah, if you're interested in marrying Ben and playing rugby with him in Canada.
I've been married twice, so I have a lot of experience.
He's good at it. He knows exactly what to do. He knows where to sign.
I know exactly when to say I do.
Yeah, no rehearsal.
I screwed it up the first time.
The timing is a bitch, man. You got to be on the downbeat when it comes up.
You got to, yeah, exactly.
I do.
It's jazz.
Scat your vows and everything.
Absolutely.
That sounds horrible.
All right. Well, I think we've covered enough road here today. Thanks for joining us. We had a lot of beers and we had a lot of fun. I had fun. This was a good one.
This is wonderful.
This was a good one. You know, it's one of those where we have so many guests, and so sometimes when it's just us, it feels like a secret club. You know, it feels like we're kind of under the fort here.
Also, I did
in the treehouse.
No research whatsoever. This time.
Research, but you knew what you're talking. You did your aliens research. That was good. Yeah,
I watched the film again the other night.
Perfect.
You know what?
You know, and honestly, that's the thing. It's like if you're one of these guys, one of these girls, one of these kids out there who doesn't watch older movies.
You can just listen to us, and we'll tell you everything that's important.
Dude, watch The Terminator.
Yeah.
These movies hold up. These movies really stand that test. You know, they're 30 years old, but they are just as gorgeous, just as compelling.
They're already classic cinema in our
just
minds.
as scary today as they were then. And that's really something special. I think that's really why I wanted to talk about James Cameron, because it's one of those things where not everyone can do what he does. He's got this real eye. He makes that magic. You know, it's like the cliche of the movie magic. He's one of those guys that does it. So there you go.
I think it's his dedicated attention to aspect ratio that really makes his films look
That's
sharp.
it, man. That is it. He knows. Well, you know, he's one of those guys. He knows how to work the camera. You know,
Yeah.
it's
When he's taking the shot, he
important
knows
thing.
whether you're going to watch this in full surround sound HD letterbox or
on VHS. Yeah,
he's thinking ahead
and
that far.
he's okay with that. Yeah, he's okay with it. So, thank you, James. I can't wait for Avatar 5. That's gonna be great. So, I'm Charlie.
I'm Ben.
I'm Ant.
This has been Hops and Monsters. Find us online. We'll find you. Good night.
Good night.